Hip hop and R&B, African, disco, oldies but goodies.
Hi, this is Janet Jackson.
We're bridging the gap. Seriously. Splash Radio 94.3 New Jersey.
Oliver Samuels here, and I just want to invite you to come out to the People Profile Awards Sunday, June 18, 2017 at the Bailey Hall right up there in Fort Lauderdale. Guess what? Me will be the recipient of the prestigious Lifetime Awards. Don't take out one syllable of the meaning of the word prestigious. It's a black tie affair, nothing less. Yellow man, get your class here, and that is a great achievement. No, never be the recipient. I'm taking it to another level.
Children's Entertainment in association with H&M proudly present Mother's Day Dinner and Concert, a tribute to all mothers. On the 14th of May, the club gonna be Club Eclipse. That's 247 Fabian Place, Newark, New Jersey. Y'all know what that is. Performing live is your host, Ghost Rider, your soul provider, and the big man himself, my daddy, Ken Booth. So all them ladies, them dainty babies, just come out early and support your mommy. Bring out your mommy. And all of them rude boys, bring out your mommy. Remember, admission is only party and at the gate more. So remember, music provided by Unity, DJ Preto, DJ Jason, DJ Hurl, MC Grand and Lady D. So remember, come out early, New Jersey, to all my ladies, my dainty babies. Take you mom to England. It's a special night from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's mama special night. Love you, mama. Club Eclipse, 4th of May, Mother's Day. Oh, Ghost can do it.
Thank you.
Hi, this is McBoomin Moving, box truck for rent for all your light moving needs. Anywhere within the Northeast Orange, Irvington, Orange areas. $50 a trip from Monday through Thursday. $60 from Friday through Sunday. Call 862-279-9300. That's 862-279-9300.
Looking for trustworthy tax professionals? Give Impact Corp a call. We will assist you with all your tax needs. We are a team of CPAs and IRS enrolled agents. If you are audited, our audit protection team will represent you at no out-of-pocket costs. We provide 3 years audit protection and a year identity theft protection, so you can have peace of mind without fear of audit. Call our team of tax experts today, 973-395-4401.
Splash Radio 94.3. Reggae, dance hall, soca, hip hop and R&B, African, disco, oldies but goodies.
Hi, this is Janet Jackson.
We're bridging the gap. Seriously. Splash Radio 94.3 New Jersey.
Answer that, don't you? I bet it's killing you, seeing that soft glow just inches away.
Black Radio.
Hey, someone wants to tell you something, or maybe ask you something.
I got 2 more commercials I gotta be on, but I can't get the intro playing through the system. I have the channel 3 up, I have the thing all the way over, and it's not playing.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Council and your friends here at Splash Radio.
Yep. Alright, I can't do it. I'm sure it go live now. I Bye, I gotta go.
Flash Radio.
Well, I don't know, so Mr. J represent for 94.3 FM Splash Radio. We don't splash out the music on them.
Initialize sequence now.
Him. Your attention, please. This is no ordinary show. Covering news and information for Essex County, New Jersey, and beyond. This is the Eric Dawson Radio Show. Broadcasting from 94.3 Splash Radio. Now, here's your host, giving it to you like only he can. It's Eric Dawson.
Hey, this is Eric Dawson, and this is the Eric Dawson Radio Show, 94.3 FM. Calling number 973-457-8000. Again, it's 973-457-8000. To listen through your mobile device, 213-493-0287. Just trying to get my recording going, guys. 213-493-0287. Or you can check us out. We're streaming live on Facebook, 94.3 FM. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. I'm fine, OB. I'm fine. Happy Friday, guys. I want to talk about an array of topics today. Hopefully at some point I'll be joined by Ian Burrows, and there's some things that he wanted to discuss as well. The first thing that I really want to get off my chest is a post that came in. Hey, good morning, guys. I want to ask you guys, as always, to take a second and share the episode. But what I want to get off my chest right now is a post that I made regarding the gentleman Eric McLemore. This is an ongoing thing, and it should concern us all. There are a lot of allegations that have been made. We did an interview with him, my partner on internet radio, Real Talk Radio, Osman Shabazz, and myself, on Wednesday. And there have been some additional things that have occurred since then. I noticed that Mr. McLemore posted on his page that he was arrested yesterday for the non-payment of tickets. So I'm just concerned about all of the things that are going on. I'm concerned about the the allegations. I'm concerned about the timing of a lot of the things that are happening. And, quite frankly, I think that we all should be concerned about it. Where I am, I'm just going to ask you to, as you're doing that, yeah, okay. So, we should all be concerned about it. We should be concerned about the timing of it. We should be concerned about the lack of information now coming from different areas within the local government. The Civilian Review Board, the ACLU, all of these organizations, I think, need to, at this point, be engaged in trying to figure out what has transpired, whether or not Mr. McLemore has been treated fairly. We should investigate. I mean, he's put some allegations out there, and He's been interrogated by the police, according to him, in front of his son. The FBI has been invoked in this, according to him. He also indicated in his interview with us that he was not to speak to anybody in City Hall because of an ongoing investigation. In that interview, suggested to him, and I hope that he has retained an attorney, that he should find out whether or not he is the target of that investigation. But again, after all of that has transpired from the time that he initiated a post, the time that he initiated the post to this point, there's a lot of engagement from law enforcement with this young man, and so I think that it warrants all of us taking a cautious look at what's going on. A couple other things that I do want to talk about as well. And if anybody has any information regarding that, certainly I reached out to Eric McLemore this morning to see whether or not he was willing to call into the radio show. He said he was going to give me a call back. I have not gotten that phone call. But this is certainly a place to have this discussion. It is a platform that we've created to allow for that dialogue to take place. A couple of other things that that I'm hoping that we get an opportunity to talk about, Ian and I, is that we talk about this Terry Crews, and he's going to have to explain this to me. But I know about my Nubian queen, Rachel Dolezal, right? And that she has now identified as being African American, and as a result, she is experiencing a lot of the grief that African Americans experience, right? She's jobless. she's getting a lot of ridicule, and a lot of other things are happening with her. But apparently, Terry Crews posted a tweet asking, which is a question that I asked. So he may have more popularity and more, celebrity than I do. But I asked this question a long time ago, where I said, if we have all of this sympathy for transgender people, right, we're willing to acknowledge the fact that a person like Caitlyn Jenner, formerly Bruce Jenner, identified and struggled all of his life, now her life, with identifying with a different gender. Why, and we embrace that, we celebrate it, we actually put her on stage and and encourage it. Why then is a person like Rachel getting so much grief? The another topic that we hope to be able to discuss is the ongoing racism within the police practices. Apparently, not apparently, it is the truth, right? The Groveland Four, right, in Florida, the state is now issuing an apology. But not only an apology, now before the governor, they're also going to ask him that he pardon those who were convicted. Now, all four of them were not convicted. Only two of them were convicted. One was gunned down after being tracked down by a posse. Right. So he was never...
led by a racist sheriff who was part of the KKK.
Right. And so he never made it to trial. And so there would be no pardon there because he was not found guilty. But the apology that was issued is certainly something that was extended to his family. And then there was another one who died in jail, right? So never made it to trial. And so the apology, again, was extended to his family. So we'll have some conversations about that and what's going on and how things are now shaping up in the Alton Sterling case. LIFO, last in, first out. Listen, I think that it's another blow for the children in failing school systems. That a judge, and this is the headline, says New Jersey teachers' layoffs must be based on seniority, not performance. A judge rules this. So the question I want to ask you guys as we delve into that discussion is, why wouldn't performance be a factor? Why couldn't everybody agree that performance should be a factor? So what they're saying simply is that if Ian was hired 2 years ago,
why gotta be me?
And was an effective teacher.
Oh, okay, thank you.
See that? See?
Cool, I appreciate that. I mean, I thought you was ready to just throw me under the bus.
Not today, I won't.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. But if Ian was hired 2 years ago and was an effective teacher, but I was hired 20 years ago and I might be an ineffective teacher, this judge is saying, well, Eric should keep his job because he was hired 20 years ago.
Right.
Not Eric should keep his job on merit of being a more effective teacher. See, because the effective teacher part, guys, plays directly to what our children need in the school system.
Right.
The child doesn't need a 20-year teacher. A child needs an effective teacher.
Okay.
Whether that teacher's been there for 2 years or 6 months or 20 years.
Right.
And so I'm surprised that there's not complete outrage at this judge's decision.
Well, you wanna lead off with that?
Well, we can, but I want to go down the list of things so that we then, hey, this whole taxi cab thing, and what I mean by that is the medallions that used to be valued at about $1 million.
Yeah, they had some value to it, didn't they?
They used to have value to it,
Mm-hmm.
but much like the stock market in 2008, right, it plummeted.
Right.
And now some of these medallions aren't worth more than $100,000. So there's been a $900,000 decrease, and it's been a direct result of technology. Uber, Lyft, those guys coming in.
Well, is it technology or just?
No, it's technology. I mean, it was innovation in that industry, right? So an industry where you had taxi cabs who were driving people to the airport or wherever they needed to go, and they were the only game in town, well, they didn't have to innovate. But then along came Uber and Lyft, and they changed the game. And the taxi cab industry, which is, they're outdated. I mean, a lot of people complained about it. They complained about the taxi cab drivers. They complained about the broken down, beaten down cabs.
They complain about the Uber drivers.
Oh, well, they may complain about the Uber drivers, but there's a different, I think anyway, you can grade an Uber driver, right?
Right.
And so if an Uber driver is incentivized to be a better driver based on the grading.
Right, the rating system.
The rating system.
Okay.
In the taxi cab industry, but that's the kind of innovation I'm talking about. You had a bad taxi cab driver, you just had a bad taxi cab driver, right? So also May Day. May 1st was Immigration Workers' Day, right? We'll talk a little bit about that.
Right, it was a protest.
It was a protest, but I mean, it was like a protest, and you just like push it aside. It was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
Right, so we'll talk about that. And then I posted this, you shared it with me, and we're going to talk about it. This idea of 55,000, or the possibility of 55,000 Haitians being scheduled for deportation back to Haiti. Now it says this headline says because Trump refuses to. Well, that's not true. He hasn't decided yet. So he hasn't refused to extend it. The extension date is upon us. I think it's the 1st of July.
I believe it's in July.
Right?
Right.
And so he hasn't made a decision on it.
And well, which is interesting, and I guess we'll go into it when we do get to that topic, because I know during his campaign, and he was out in a area in Florida where they refer to as like Little Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
He promised, to support them. And so we has a large contingent that came here as a result of the hurricane.
Right. All right. So that's the lineup, guys.
That's the lineup.
Let's get to it. Where do you want to start?
I think that the teaching situation might be a little bit of a hot button for a lot of people. I mean, Terry Crews, hey, Simone, you here today? What's up? Oh, hold on. I'm gonna get this thing going.
So which one do you want to start with?
That should be better now, right, guys? Simone and all y'all.
We got people listening on that. Which one?
We can start with the teachers union.
All right.
Thing.
So
we can do that.
So guys, what do you all think? The community is silent. The judge has spoken. The union has spoken. What does the community think? Would you rather have a 20-year teacher who is not performing, or would you rather have a 2-year teacher who is performing that and performing well, teaching your child? My opinion has been made clear several times.
What's
that
your
I think
opinion?
that my opinion is that it should be merit-based, not based on tenure. I think that tenure has destroyed the public school system. I think that it has. We don't get tenure anywhere else. Everywhere else in society is based on your performance.
Right.
Right? So why is it and if you look at the public school system, here's the question I have.
Right.
You got a teacher who's been teaching for 30 years, but Johnny still can't read. You got a teacher teaching for 30 years. Kids are graduating from Newark school systems, right, or a lot of school systems within New Jersey, and the degree isn't worth the paper it's printed on. A lot of the kids are graduating from these schools, and they're going off to, like, Essex County College,
Right.
and 98% of them need remedial classes.
Right.
37% are going to Rutgers needing remedial classes. 42% are going to Rider and needing remedial classes. So my question is, and this is when we were talking about the idea of, having assessment, not only for students but for teachers, so that we can evaluate, because there's a disconnect somewhere, right? Teachers are staying, they're getting tenure, and they're being protected because of the longevity.
Right.
But Johnny still can't read.
Yeah, we definitely need Johnny to read. But now, this is my question is, how are we determining what is the criteria for the evaluation? That's my question and concern.
What evaluation?
The teacher evaluation. If we're going to say we're going to have a teacher's evaluation, how is that teacher evaluation that's going to be based off of?
Well, right now there is no evaluation according to the judge. They evaluate whether or not the teacher's been there longer. That's it. They simply are evaluating whether the teacher has been there longer. If the teacher's been there longer, then the teacher's staying. And I have a problem with that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is my thing. See, and family, listen, chime in on this. I mean, we have unions for a reason, to protect those who put in some time and years and stuff like that with the community. And, we've had, and a lot of times, a lot of jobs, they tend to let people go because usually the person that's been there longer gets paid more than the other people.
Okay.
So
wait a minute. So I'm just trying to be clear.
I just want to make sure that the hiring and firing of a person is literally and controlled as merit-based, if we're talking about it, versus the school or any system using it in a fashion just to remove a hired, paid individual from the job position. That's
Johnny can't read.
Well,
98% of the kids going to Essex County College need remedial classes.
right.
The schools are failing. And the teachers who are standing in front of the classroom are part of the problem. Not all of them, but some of them. And we have to acknowledge that. I mean, we can acknowledge that there may be some home issues. There's the child himself or herself.
Right.
But you can't absolve the teacher of any responsibility.
No, we're not trying to absolve.
Well, but
everybody.
when a judge steps up and says that it doesn't make, I'm going to read the headline again, because the headline to me was startling. The headline simply, dude, it says very clearly, not based on performance.
Well,
it says teachers' layoffs must be based on seniority, not performance. I mean,
I have a little bit of an issue with that, but then
a little bit.
Well, I have more than a little bit of an issue with that, but some people is going to state or say that the fact that, maybe it's the student or the school, or that particular neighborhood school that's the issue.
Okay.
And it's not the teacher because, like we were talking about during Education Week, we have some schools that, a lot of us wouldn't mind our children going to, and then there's some schools where our children, are like, what the heck is going on? So, that's, what I'm talking about is that can we, are we using this thing in a way, like what's the criteria? Somebody's calling in. Let's see what's going on here. Hey, good morning, caller. How you doing?
Caller?
Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think Ian's a little lost right now in this conversation.
Well, not really lost.
But my question is, but the headline is clear. It simply says that the judge says that any layoffs that occur must be seniority based. So he's not even saying, you know what, let's evaluate these things, let's put on a scale, and then we're going to measure this, we're going to measure that. He's saying not based on performance, not based on performance, not based on performance. So how do you do that? How is every parent in New Jersey not pissed off right now? Go ahead, caller.
Well, first off, how you fellas doing? This is the Grandmaster Bar Town.
Oh, see what I'm talking about?
What's going on, man? So what's your thought about it?
I'm on your side with this, right? I think there's some intangibles to the situation.
Wait a minute, you said you're not on my side with it?
I think I might be leaning more to Ian on this side.
Uh-oh.
I don't think that you can base it on performance because there are a lot of factors in that. First off and foremost, if your child can't read in the 5th grade and you don't know that, there's a problem with the parent. Way more than there is with the school or a teacher. Because students lead teachers every year. So when you're trying to base it, I don't know, I'm getting static. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. If you try to base it on performance of teachers only get a student 1 year, and then they go to another class. They go to another grade. So if that's the case, then they can't be solely responsible.
Wait a minute, but let's stop for a second, because part of the evaluation that was supposed to occur with a teacher was not just in a single year, right? But let's say you had a 3rd grade teacher, and 3rd grade teacher consistently pushed kids out through his or her classroom. They were going to evaluate the kids where they were before they came to that teacher's classroom, how the kids performed in that teacher's classroom, how that kid performed, say, going into the 4th grade, right? And they were going to do it over a period of years, not just that one class, and be able to assess whether or not a teacher, because then you could tell, am I right? You could tell if it's a teacher or the students. If you saw that over a period of time, that let's say students came into a classroom, say, let's use a 3rd grade class. So students came in from the 2nd grade and the 3rd grade. But when you evaluated those students in the 2nd grade, those students were performing. Then you had some students coming into the 3rd grade, and those students were not performing. And then you've got those kids then going to the 4th grade, and those same students now are performing again, right? But in the 3rd grade, they weren't. And then you look and you see in the next school year, you had the same thing happen. At some point, you'd be able to evaluate, maybe there's something wrong with that teacher.
Okay, but now let's keep the same thing, right? Because we're talking about teachers for the whole state, right? Not just for a particular town or county.
Correct.
Right. So now, if that's the case, right? Now let's take a kid who is in, let's just say, 5th grade at Camden Street School here on Burton Street, or whatever it's called now, right?
Right.
And you take that kid, and that kid leaves that school system for whatever reason and goes up into Livingston. Now, 9 times out of 10, when he goes to Livingston, he's not going to do as well if he goes to an elementary in Livingston coming from the city of Newark.
I agree.
Right?
I agree with that. So
you're going by teacher performance. You're going to hurt the teacher's performance.
No. So but when you're making an assumption, the assumption you're making is that they wouldn't take that into consideration when they're measuring performance of the teacher. And I'm saying, what? You're breaking up. I need you clearer.
Okay, I said this is the state of New Jersey. We can guarantee that they'll mess up.
No, come on, stop it. So you give me one scenario, right? But I can give you 55 scenarios where the teacher's just a bad teacher. But since they're not going to measure it based on performance, that bad teacher is now protected. So now what you're going to say to me is, well, I'm going to give you the best scenario, Eric, where a kid comes from a failing school district and then goes into an exceptional school district, and I want you to use that as the measuring stick. I'm saying, what about the other end of the spectrum, Farrakhan? What about the other end of the spectrum where the kid's in the same class? In the same school?
That's why I would believe the judge made his decision on the...
No, you know why the judge made the decision? The judge made the decision because it's all political. The judge made the decision because of the pressure of the unions. That's why the judge made the decision. But in all circles...
Pressure from a union?
What?
Judges get pressures from unions?
No. Judges get pressure from politicians who get pressured from unions. Are you kidding me? All of these laws that are enforced. So when you go answer a question for me, Farrakhan, we talk about a decision by a judge, right, that you found to be an unreasonable decision, whether or not you thought the judge swayed against somebody because of their race or some other kind of thing. You don't think that those pressures came from to make those decisions came from the political realm?
Honestly, when it comes to judges, I believe that they're just...
you don't think that judges are always looking for greater appointments? And where do those appointments come from?
In some cases, yes, indeed.
Okay. In some cases, yes, indeed.
In some cases, yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
But what I have found is that once they sit on that bench, okay, and they put on that black robe, most judges think that they're, like, greater than God. They believe that, like, what they're saying is the word of words. And they virtually don't take it from anyone. They do not really take their cues from outside. They have their own personal beliefs. And then they just...
So you don't believe that, and this is off topic, but you don't believe that the judge in Orange, New Jersey, who overturned the will of the people to have an elected school board, right? You don't think that that judge was pressured from the politicians to keep it an appointed board? Are you kidding me? Wait a minute. So you, because according to you, what?
I don't know anything about the case, but I would probably say, from what I know of judges in my experiences in front of them, that's just how they felt. Because that's
do you know the relationship between judges and governors and judges and senators and do you know those relationships, governors and congressmen? Right.
But in most cases,
and then do you know that these governors, not Governor Christie, but do you know that senators and assembly folks and freeholders and all those people, do you know that they get money, massive amounts of money from the union?
Oh, sure.
Okay, right.
We're talking in political realm.
That's absolutely right. And then, so you don't think that those people in the political realm then make phone calls to these judges and to try to sway them to push in a particular direction?
I believe they do.
There we go. And so that's the connective tissue that I'm talking about.
Right, but I just don't think that judges respond to it. They believe that they're independent, and they talk as though they're independent. Now, whether they actually are beholden to political parties and contributors and so forth, I don't know. You know, my experience just has been, I have seen judges just make up decisions and verdicts in which they feel. And I was looking at something the other day, and they were talking about a judge that set free a Korean lady for killing a girl in California years ago. And she did, even though the governor of the state, the mayor of L.A., everybody wanted this woman to go to jail because she shot and killed someone during the Rodney King riot era time. But the judge, because they felt the way she felt, no, I ain't got to do that. Now, again, this was a judge who didn't agree with the mayor, who didn't agree with the police chief, or the governor of the state. Who all thought that this woman should have gone to jail. But instead, the judge, whom they think they are once they get that position, said, nah, I want to do it different, and just did it. With everybody saying, no, that was the wrong thing to do.
So you don't, but so I guess I want to get that. I want to. So here's my question, because I want to just make sure I get you clear. You don't believe that performance should play a role at all in determining whether a teacher should be laid off or not?
No, I won't say that.
But that's what the judge said. That's what the judge said. But that's exactly what the judge said.
Now, only thing I would say, well, let's question that judge. Why do you think that? Why does he say there must be something that.
Well, I won't get an opportunity. I wish I could get him here to talk about it, but I don't think that we'll be able to do that. But I'm simply asking you. So when he says that it must be based on seniority and not performance, do you believe that there should be some performance-based evaluation?
Yes, but at the same time, again, I don't know how you evaluate.
Well, we can have that, but we can have that discussion, right? We can have that discussion. But do you?
Maybe that's why the judge made his decision, because that discussion hasn't been properly made yet. That's what I'm saying. Maybe the judge knows that there is a flawed system to evaluate a teacher.
And there's a flawed system for some of these teachers being in here. When you got 98% of the kids who are going to Essex County College who need remedial classes, so there's a flawed system there. When you got kids who are walking across the stage and the diploma's not worth the paper it's printed on, you got a flawed system there.
Wouldn't you say that starts at home? If a parent has been raising a child for 18 years who is not competent or on the proper collegiate level by the time they get to college, then who should know that better than the mother and the father?
Well, look, I'm not disputing. Thanks for the call. So I'm not disputing the fact that we need to have parental engagement. We talk about that all the time.
Yeah, we always do.
We always talk about that. I'm not disputing we need to have that. I'm simply saying that when you have a system where you're evaluating a child and whether a child has achieved whatever he or she was supposed to achieve in order to move to the next grade, right? Those state standards. If you then move the child to the next grade and then you keep moving the child to the next grade saying that they have achieved those standards, right, and they have learned what they should have learned, and then you give them a diploma as they walk across the stage graduating high school, and then when they get to college and then they recognize that that child didn't really master the things that they should have mastered, and not one kid, not two kids, 98% of them.
Right, but let me ask you a question: is it the individual teacher's fault?
I'm saying that it's an accumulative thing, right? So I mean, it's a lot of stuff. It's the parents, it's the student, it's the district, it may be the individual teacher, a lot of things. So when we talk about evaluation, right, the union said we don't want teachers to be evaluated. We're okay with the students' evaluations. We're okay with NJ Ask. We're okay with all of these things that you might want to do to evaluate the student, but we don't want an evaluation attached to the teacher. Right? So now when do you understand what I'm saying? So now when you're arguing to have a system that says, well, okay, Johnny's been in this class all year long. Right. Johnny can't read. Right. We need to figure out why Johnny can't read. And when you've got a union who simply says, we want you to just look over on Johnny's side. We don't want you to come over here and think that any of what we're doing may have something to do with why Johnny can't read. I think that's problematic.
I agree with that part. But now, again, my issue is how some corporations, and unfortunately, we have to look at, in my opinion, the teacher education now as a corporation, because we are privatizing a lot of our schools and stuff like that. And I think much like corporations and dealing with budgets and things of that nature, how are we to determine whether or not they're hiring or firing, or that their use of hiring or firing particular teachers, etc., so on, is solely based on their performance versus the fact that they want to get rid of some of the higher salary teachers.
Well, that may be the case. That may be the case too. That may be the case, and I wouldn't say we shouldn't argue that point. I'm simply saying that when you take off the table evaluating the performance of a teacher, when you take it off the table, then you don't leave any room for teachers to be evaluated based on their performance, and so you run the risk now of laying off very qualified teachers simply because they haven't been there long enough. And you run the risk of protecting and keeping in a classroom teachers who are not qualified and will continue to push through kids that are going off to these colleges and not having the requisite knowledge that they need to be able to actually take college level classes. That is the big issue.
Right. Now, okay. So now, let's just say we're talking about this a particular student right now, right? Who has gotten to this point. Now, how is it that they're being pushed forward to start with? Is there a system in place that is an incorrect, flawed system that maybe some teachers are against?
Well,
is there a system in place that they, because the teacher would or should know if that student can or cannot read, much like a parent should know if their child can read or not.
And then why is the teacher passing them?
Is there a system
then
in
why
place?
is the teacher passing them?
Why
isn't the teacher... So I don't...
Are they being passed or are they being moved
well,
forward to a higher grade?
I think that we're going down a rabbit hole. The fact of the matter is, for decades, we're not talking about a year, 2 years, we're talking about decades.
Right.
Decades of failure. Decades. And so I'm saying right now, with that ruling that just came out, there should be a huge protest. A huge protest that says this is unreasonable, this is unacceptable. My kid is in a school now and in a classroom and sitting and learning from a teacher that may not be qualified because the judge says we're not going to have to measure based on performance.
Well, okay. Now, I'm okay with what you're referring to, and I'm okay with that as long as the power is in the teacher's hands. See, right now, the power's not in their hands on deciding a lot of things because they have to fight with administrators on pushing numbers too. They have to fight with administrators on letting Johnny go to the next level class. They have to fight with these people along with fighting parents and fighting other things, because if you're going to make me responsible, then give me the power. You know, just like, you know, Bill Parcells said,
what do you mean that they have to fight with them?
Well, they do. Teachers have to fight. Teachers, please call in, because I know that teachers have to fight with administrators.
So you're saying that the system that's set up right now is that a teacher has a quota of students that they have to pass?
Absolutely, they have a quota. The school has a quota.
Now, what I'm going to say to you is this. I think, moreover, that the teacher passes the student because if they don't, it's a reflection on the teacher that the teacher may not be a qualified teacher.
I disagree.
So I don't know that there's a system-imposed quota. I think that the teacher looks and says, I may be at jeopardy if it looks like I'm failing and failing and failing and failing children that are coming through my classroom.
You don't think that there's a school...
And that teacher then should be, if that teacher's a qualified teacher, should be pushing for some sort of a performance-based system so that people can determine that maybe those children prior to getting to that teacher. So if I'm a third grade teacher and I'm responsible for getting a child to third grade reading level. Right. But when the children come into my classroom, they're reading below a first grade reading level. Right? So they didn't learn what they should have learned in the first grade. They didn't learn what they should have learned in the second grade. And now you want me to take them in this moment in time in the third grade and get them all the way up to speed. Well, that's probably an impossible task.
So what should a teacher who's being put in that position do?
Well, the teachers should be teaching the whole class. So now if you've got one teacher and they have 30 kids in the class, you may have some kids in that class who are on a third grade level. So you can't have those children suffer while you're trying to teach this kid who doesn't really understand. So what you do is you notify. So I would imagine, I would love for teachers to call in because I'm not a teacher. But what I would do, 457-8000.
Please call in.
But what I would imagine should be done from a process standpoint is that child should have been identified, right? Some sort of assessment when that child comes into the class. So if I'm a teacher and I got 30 kids coming to class, I should be able to assess very quickly where all of these kids are in terms of reading, math, everything else before I start. So I know the baseline of where I'm teaching. Now, if this kid hadn't learned this, and they should have learned it in the second grade, but this kid learned this, or if I look and say 80% of my class is where they should be, and I got 20%, or say 10% of my class that's a little bit behind, and the other 10 is way behind, if I work to try to bring that 10 that's way behind, 10% that's way behind, up to where the 80% that's on grade level, the on-grade level kids are going to suffer because at the end of the year, they may not have gotten what they needed to be able to move on to the 4th grade. I need to communicate that to my administration. I need to communicate that down to the district. I need to communicate that to the parents. And now maybe you need to get some additional help in those classrooms.
And you are under the impression that the teachers have the support.
Wow.
And that's where I think this whole thing.
But what does that have to do with the judge saying that it should still be performance based? So even if the judge said it's supposed to be performance based, now you can push a system that may not have the support. But now once you say it doesn't have to be performance based, then you sweep everything under the rug.
Because the judge sees just like we've seen a lot of times, what ends up happening is that you're punishing the person on the bottom of the totem pole, like say.
Who's on the bottom of the totem pole? The child.
The bottom of the totem pole.
So you're getting ready to say the teacher, and that's where the perspective is off. At the bottom of that totem pole is the child. And that child is suffering. Every child that
most definitely is suffering, but in regards to decision making and all that, the person on the bottom of the totem pole is the teacher.
No, at the bottom of that totem pole is the child. That child who is ill prepared to go off to college.
And right above them is the teacher. Unfortunately, that's the case. I wish the teachers had more power. I'm sure the teachers who teach wish they had more power and how they on passing and failing a child that should be passed or failed versus being forced to pass a child to fit numbers. You don't think schools are looking at, we need to have a certain number graduation rate, we need to have a certain number of whatever. You don't think this, unfortunately, it's a numbers game for a lot of people. And I wish it wasn't. I wish it was something totally different, that our teachers did not have to go through such a thing, whereas the numbers didn't matter. But unfortunately, the numbers matter. And somebody, please call us.
So you're saying that the teachers are just going to push these kids through, that they shouldn't be evaluated, that the judge should stand by them, and the union should protect them. And then I say, you know what? That's all happening right now. And that's why I corrected you and said at the bottom of the totem pole, you said it was the teacher. And I'm saying no. All of that failed pressure is on these students.
Okay. Now, what we have... we had a week-long and even longer discussion regarding education. We care about our children. We want our children to succeed. But in order for our children to succeed...
There's some people who I don't believe care about the children.
Well...
I had John Abagon sitting here in the chair, and what he said to me was that his focus was on protecting the interests of his union members.
Okay. To protect them is a good thing, but to not consider the children in this regard is not a good thing. Now, I'm not sure what his position was on that, but you have to protect the workers and support them, and knowing that they could make a hard, tough decision, like I need to fail Junior, and it not be a direct reflection on me, because if, just as an example that you gave, if I'm the third grade teacher that inherited a student who can't read first grade level, and they're in my class, and I choose to fail them, how is that supposed to be a reflection on me? Because, like, isn't that, if we're talking about performance based, is that me failing that child?
No, what I just said to you is this. You're the third grade teacher.
Okay.
Right? You get 30 kids in your classroom. If you did an assessment of your 30 kids when they came into your classroom in September, you would be able to evaluate, if you were an effective teacher, you would be able to evaluate almost instantly how many of those children are prepared to be in your class.
You're not going to be instant.
Why?
I mean, it's going to be because you have 30 students in their class, and it's going to take you some time to get to that point.
If I gave all 30 kids a test that says, okay, here's what you should have learned, here's what you finished the second grade, so the assumption is you've mastered this. Right, because the state says that upon completing the second grade, you should now know these things. So if I gave every kid in my class as a third grade teacher a test that says, well, let's see if you know those things. Now, when I got the results back from those tests, I know which kids don't know it and which kids do. Now, if I see that, again, if I see that I got 80% of the kids who knew it, and I've got 20% who didn't know it, but out of that 20%, let's say 10% were really poorly prepared to be in the third grade, and the other 20 were borderline prepared to be in the third grade.
Right.
Now I got 3 tiers of students in my class.
Now, who gets hit with that performance?
No, so
that's my question.
What do you mean?
For that particular,
if I'm the third, so I'm going to answer your question.
Okay.
So if I'm the third grade teacher, of course you can't blame me. They literally just walked in my class. Now you got to go back to the second grade teacher and say, did the second grade teacher teach them what they needed to know, or did they come into the second grade not prepared? But if you were doing evaluation like that, you'd be able to be able to track the kid and the teacher to see which students came out of which class and what they knew. So by the time they got to your class in the third grade, you would know which. You might see that some kids came in to the second grade prepared, but by the time they left the second grade, they weren't prepared for the third. And some kids who came into the second grade, into that teacher's class in the second grade, not prepared. And then by the time they finished that teacher's class in the second grade, they were further behind. And now you'd be able to create some corrective action. But until you do that, if you're just ushering them all through, and nobody's taking the blame, and nobody's taking responsibility, and then they walk across the stage, when they graduate high school, you hand them a damn piece of paper that's not worth anything, and then you send them on their way. That's what's going on right now.
Well, okay.
And then I'm pissed that the community isn't saying a damn thing about it. And then you get this judge that says, hey,
but let's also,
it shouldn't be performance based. It should be just based on the fact that the teacher's been there longer.
And we have a system that's set up on the wrong values, I think, as a whole. I would
love to hear a teacher's perspective too. And I'm asking a teacher to call. If you know a teacher, this is the topic. We're probably going to be on it for the next 5 or 10 minutes. If you know a teacher that can call in,
Shelton Prescott, please call in. He's in the school system. I see you on the page. Please call in 973-457-8000. We're talking about the LILO, LIFO. I'm sorry, last in, first out. And please call in about, because I want to hear your perspective on it. I mean, you're welcome to call in and change your name, because I know you're probably at work. But or any other teacher, somebody who used to work in teachers. I know teachers that quit. I know teachers that wanted to work in a particular school system.
David says, Ian, get with the program. You're living in an alternate universe.
David, let me find your call. Your tie's going to be flat. Are you talking about me like that? No, but seriously, 973 Jewel. 973-457-8000 is the phone number. And because this is my thing is, I'm okay with the system, but it has to be.
You're okay with this system?
No, not this system.
Oh.
I'm okay with some of what you're proposing, but it can't be an immediate situation, because we have a lot of teachers that inherited problems that were already existing. So you're going to have, starting this year, in a couple of years down the road or whatever, that's when we're going to start this. In the meantime, we're going to start cleaning up the process, because there are, unfortunately, in this country, unfortunately, education isn't put on the highest levels where, where it should be. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Who's this?
Jewel.
Hey, Jewel, what's happening?
Not too much. I get a chance to listen to you guys every now and then because you're on while I'm at work. But if it's quiet, I typically try to...
Going to ask you to turn your radio down, whatever you're listening to us on, down, because I can hear it.
That's my phone.
Thank you.
1 second.
No worries. So you are a teacher?
I am not a teacher.
Okay.
But let's hear your opinion, because neither one of us are teachers either.
Okay.
So, so the topic is in regards to LIFO, right? And which is basically a situation whereas, last in, first out. If you were hired last and we need to downgrade, you're going to be the first one fired, even though you may be a better teacher than somebody who's been there for 20 plus years. And we're arguing on the reasons why the judge supported that. Do you believe that teachers should be evaluated based on the time they've been there or based on performance?
I think they should be evaluated for both.
Okay.
But just because the performance is where it's supposed to be, that it's a curriculum that they still have to follow, and sometimes they're doing their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go up there?
Right. So now,
but most definitely, if they have a classroom of kids who are failing, then they need to be evaluated for that. However, I do agree that there are teachers, and this No Kid Left Behind thing that they
thank
put
you.
into place
That's a
few years
terrible.
ago.
Wait, I'm trying to hear. Go ahead again. Go ahead, Carla. What'd you say? Say that one more time.
This No Kid Left Behind thing has been the issue from the door, because what they're doing is they're just passing you on to the next grade and passing you on to the next person, and the next person is now taking on the problem from the last teacher and the last teacher and the last teacher. I have full knowledge of this because I have a niece that it happened to.
Right.
Who was in kindergarten, and she was dyslexic, one, and she had a learning disability, two, that I don't think her mom knew about in the beginning. And when I started picking the kids up from school and doing homework, I became very frustrated with her because I'm saying to myself, you should know this by now. You should know this. So what's going on? And then we found out that, one, she was dyslexic, two, she had a learning disability. She had a problem with retaining things.
That's good.
Yeah, Jewel. I think you're pressing the button on your phone or something because we're here. Ding,
Am I?
ding.
Probably.
Yeah.
If the teacher had paid attention to that one child, you would have known that that one child is not getting what the other children are getting. So
right. Well, a lot of them aren't being properly diagnosed early as well.
No, but here's my question. The only question I'm asking is this: at some point, the child came into a class, whichever class they came into, and began to fall behind. What happened next?
She didn't pay attention to that.
Who didn't pay attention?
That one teacher, that very first teacher, did not acknowledge the fact that this child is not
and so
the
now,
rest of the children.
And so now, if you had that one teacher who did not pay attention, and so now it became a snowball effect, right?
Exactly.
And so now, if they were able to evaluate teacher performance, they would be looking in that next grade that child was moved into.
Exactly.
The teacher would have been able to discern that kid's not ready to come into my class because he or she has not learned the things they should have learned to come into the class. They would have then been able to go back to that teacher that kid came from and find out what happened.
Well, I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but my problem with that is you're leaving it up to the teachers when, in actuality...
No, I don't want to leave it up to teachers.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Let me finish. In actuality, the curriculum that's set doesn't allow the next teacher, not the first teacher, but the next teacher, to know until later on in the school year that this child is... So you can't bring a child into the classroom and they're testing. That's not the curriculum. That's not the way it works. So unfortunately, you don't know right away. However, when you do test them and you do find out that this child has not been up to the grade that they should be in, that child should be taken out of that class into a class where they can learn at their pace.
Right. And so so all the whole hubbub around Park, right? And folks not wanting assessment testing,
ridiculous,
which would be able to evaluate not only the child but the teacher as well. And so when you're saying to me that, well, no, we wouldn't know, you would know. So there has to be some testing.
I never said no, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know as soon as you said. That's what I said. You, on your statement prior to me calling, said when that first teacher gets that child, you would know right away. You won't know right away. You won't know until later on.
I'm going to ask you, you keep hitting the button on your phone.
Let me take
okay, there we go. All right. So what I'm saying is this. So when you have a teacher, right, in a class, and they give their first test. So it was a long time ago that I was in the third grade.
I hope so.
Right, but you go into class, and at some point you're given a test or quiz, and the teacher sees that a kid is not doing well, didn't comprehend it. Then you give another one, and the teacher realizes that the kid isn't up to speed. Now, I have children in schools. So I've been called into schools before and met with the teacher where the teacher said, your son or your daughter, isn't really understanding this. And then we're trying to figure it out, right? So we're trying to trace steps back. I'm saying that teacher at some point in that class, and they know it well before the first marking period is over, they know that the students who in that class understand and are capable of keeping up in that classroom and moving forward.
Can I disagree with you again? I disagree with you, and the reason why I disagree with you is because some kids are sharper than others. Coming into a new grade, a new class, a new teacher, sometimes new peers, you have to give them time to adjust as well. It may not be that they are not capable of doing it. Some kids need to adjust. They need to adjust. Now, secondly, some kids test poorly but are very intelligent. So you have to find out if that's the issue as well. So it's not going to happen until maybe the first marking period is over, letting them get acclimated to what they're doing and where they're at and the teacher they have. So
I'm going to ask you to hold on. We're going to take this 11 o'clock break. Yeah. I don't know if you can hold.
I can probably call back.
Okay, right, call back, please.
The current time is
Blast Radio 94.3. Reggae, dance hall, soca, hip hop and R&B, African, disco.
Where you want to go next?
Oldies but goodies.
Hi, this is Janet
I'll leave it up to you.
We're bridging the gap. Seriously. Splash Radio 94.3, New Jersey.
May 12th, the biggest horseback you've ever seen. Entertainment brings to you New York meets New Jersey. Tourist State of Mind, Black and Gold Affair. The official birthday bash for Little Rihanna, DJ Turn, Hot Rocky Gun, and out of New York, DJ Rich Rated R. Friday, May 12, 2017, 48 Branford Place, North New Jersey. Music powered by DJ Biggs, DJ Maul, DJ Chronic, DJ Rich, DJ Arquette, and straight from New York City, DJ Kevridge and Prince Chills. Doors open at 10 p.m. There will be tight security. All you can drink and birthday packages are available. For more information, please log on to touriststateofmind.eventbrite.com. Again, that's touriststateofmind.eventbrite.com. May 12th, New York meets New Jersey. Tourist State of Mind, Black and Gold Affair. Be there.
Jingles Entertainment in association with H&M Production presents a tribute to all mothers. On Sunday, May 14th, it's a Mother's Day dinner and concert starring Jamaica's living legend, Mr. Rocksteady, Ken Boo. Along with Jamaican singing sensation Ghost. It's a tribute to all mothers. On Sunday, May 14th, Mother's Day. It's a Mother's Day dinner and concert at Clubby Clips, 247 Fabian Place in Newark. It's a Mother's Day dinner and concert starring Jamaica's living legend Ken Boo and Jamaican singing sensation Ghost. Also performing Jeffrey Smith and New Jersey's own Patrick Irie with MCs Grang Grang and Lady D. Music by Unity Music, DJ Brento, DJ Jason, and DJ Earl. Dinner is served from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. Showtime is at 8 p.m. sharp. Early bird tickets are available now for $40 in Somerset at the Island Breeze Restaurant, in Teaneck at A Taste of Island Spice, in Newark at Tasty's Restaurant, in Patterson at L&A Restaurant, and Golden Crust, in Orange at Unisex America, in East Orange at Tropical Flavors, and People's Choice Restaurant, and Michelle Restaurants in Irvington. Don't miss a Mother's Day dinner and concert Sunday, May 14th, Mother's Day, starring Jamaica's living legend, Mr. Rocksteady, Ken Boo. Say that you hear.
Hey, did you see that post up online about Julie? I totally wrote it. Wasn't it hilarious? Is all of that true? Who cares? She's done anyways.
Are you talking about that post about Julie?
Yeah, funny, right?
No, but that post about you was.
What post?
Oh, you didn't hear? You're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid, and oh yeah, you smell too. The whole school saw it, no big deal.
That's so mean. Did they really write that about me?
No, but how does it feel?
Sometimes you can feel all alone when being bullied, and that's when you can really use a friend. If you see someone or know someone that's being bullied online, let them know they're not alone. Stand up now, support a friend, and save a life. For more information on cyberbullying, visit with stopthememe.wordpress.com or call the hotline at 1-800-555-STOP. A message from your friends here at Splash Radio.
Hi, this is McBoomin Moving, box truck for rent, for all your light moving needs, anywhere within the Northeast Orange, Irvington Orange areas. $50 a trip from Monday through Thursday, $60 from Friday through Sunday. Call 862-279-9300. That's 862-279-9300.
Somebody's happy.
Splash Radio 94.3. Reggae. Dance Hall.
Somebody's asking, are you related to Teresa?
Hip Hop and R&B. African.
Teresa
Dawson.
No.
Oldies but goodies.
Hi, this is Janet Jackson.
We're bridging the gap. Seriously. Splash Radio 94.3 New Jersey.
Well, I don't know, so Mr. G represent for 94.3 FM Splash Radio. We don't splash out the music on them.
Hey, so
we're back.
Oh, what happened?
What you talking about, Willis?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you? I can't hear you.
What you mean? Can y'all hear me out there?
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay.
All right, there we go. There we go. Our sound is up. So we're back. 94.3 FM. Calling number 973-457-8000. So I don't know that we're going to solve that problem here regarding LIFO. It's an ongoing battle. But I just think that we need to take into consideration that the system as it stands right now is not working. When you hear that statistic, 98% of the students entering into Essex County College need remedial classes. 37% that are entering into Rutgers need remedial classes. 42% that are entering into Rider need remedial classes. It tells you that the system is broken.
All right, now this is where I'm at with that. How? Good morning, caller. Hold your thought for a second there, caller. I just want to make this statement.
And then turn your radio down as well.
Yeah,
Thank
turn
you.
your radio down
Hold
as
on.
well. Now, this is my statement here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I feel that our schools are failing. How is it that our colleges and universities are able to determine whether...
Well, because when a kid goes, they take a test.
I know that. That's the point. I think every year... my opinion, I think every year...
An admissions exam into the grade?
Well, I think once you're in the... Yes, something to that nature.
Wouldn't that be great? What do you guys think about that? An admissions exam. So your second grade kid, before they moved on to the third grade, had to take an admissions exam to go to third grade.
And I think whether they take it at the end of their school year or at the beginning of the next, I think it has to be at the end of the other school year. Every school year for the admission to the next grade. But
Yeah.
then, just as Jewel pointed out earlier, some kids
don't test
well.
I get that, but
You
you
know,
would take that into
I
consideration.
remember. I forgot. I'm trying to think of the name of the basketball player who had terrible practices.
Mm-hmm.
Was one of the worst person in practice ever. According to the coach. But then, when it came to performance in game time, he was all lights out. How do I put the other? I don't want to touch that. There's another call calling in as well.
Keep going. Keep talking.
So some people just don't test well. So it has to be a multi-level. And Tamika's right. I mean, she has to agree. Demographics does play a part, and it does. Now, let's take the first caller.
Push the first button.
First button. Let's go. All right, caller. Thanks for holding.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Eric, assalamu alaikum. This is Ali Muhammad.
Hey, walaikum
What's
assalam.
up? What's up, Ali? How you doing?
I got some news. Last night at the street doctor's retirement party, me and the mayor had a 15 conversation. He's agreed to meet with you, and he wants me to set it up.
So I'm just letting you know that he wants to meet. He'll be private with you. You know, no security, no, I don't know where we're going to go, maybe City Hall or whatever. But he wants it to come through me. But he's agreed to sit down and work everything out with you. And what I'll do is I'll get your number through Osmond.
All right.
Is that okay?
That sounds fantastic. So listen, but since I have you on the phone, you own a school, right?
Yes.
So we're talking about LIFO, last in, first out.
Right.
What do you think about teachers? And the judge made a decision. He said teachers should not be evaluated in these layoffs that are coming up based on performance, but they should be evaluated based on tenure.
No. He was talking about in regards to first to be fired should be
laid off.
Should be
laid off based on tenure, based on years
correct.
in. Right, not based on performance.
I agree with the judge.
Why?
Because, generally if a teacher has tenure, they're qualified.
So when you have 98% of the kids, I repeat this, 98% of the kids going into Essex County College need remedial classes.
Correct.
So with all these teachers that are there, how's Johnny not reading?
Well, it's a process that happens. It happens in, you have children, I have children. We've been a little more, our kids were reading ready at pre-K. My son was reading ready in the fourth grade. At 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. I don't know if you know, for 18 times I lived in Mendham.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of other kids went to North Academy and Pingree and whatever. It starts in the pre-K area. The kids have to be reading ready. What happens?
It starts in the household.
Yes, it starts in the household.
That's
and
right.
then reading ready. And then the first and second grade, like in Mendham in the first grade, my son had to read 100 books. So what happens is it's a process that happened over 40 years in the urban area. When I went to Wheatway High School, you got a good education. We didn't have science high. We had arts high. We didn't have university. You got a good education in Wheatway High School. You had a good education in South Side and Barrington. But it's a process that the kids became parents and they dropped out, and it's over and over. I deal with it every day. That's what my school is. My school is an at-risk school. So that's what I became famous for.
So you don't think that there are any teachers who are bad teachers? You think all teachers are good teachers?
Of course, we're not saying that.
Okay, but if you're not, but if there's no,
I think if a teacher lasts 10 or 15 years, through evaluations, I know. I done hired over 150 teachers. I know when I got a bad teacher.
Okay.
If you're a good administrator, you know when you got a bad people. But, if a person has been there for 15 years, you got to give them more respect than a person walking in the door. Now, what I like about the new teachers, they're more innovative. They're coming in with greater ideas and everything. So, I understand what you're saying, but I still would have to go with the judge.
Okay. So listen, do this favor for me. Friend me on Facebook, right? I'll accept your friendship, and then I'll inbox you my number.
Okay. But, I'm telling you, I send 80 kids a year to Essex County or Union County.
Right.
You follow me?
Right.
And sometimes you get a jewel. Like I had a kid that came in that was Barringer and everything, and his science high, and he had fell out, but he was attendance. And when I tested him, he did 1,800 on the SAT. So he's going to Drew. You follow me? But the average kid I get is more at risk. So if you get the little better ones, you try to get them into black colleges. Because that's like an incubator also. But you can't take a kid that come basically out of the urban area and drop them into a Rutgers. They'll die.
Thanks for the call.
Thanks for calling. Appreciate it. Please.
Okay, bye.
Assalamualaikum.
Good morning, caller. Thanks for checking in. Who's this? Hello.
How you doing?
All right.
Yeah, my name is Sherri Winstead, and I go to Essex County College.
Sherri, thanks for calling in, and I see you on a thread. So go ahead and ask your question or make your comment that you made in the thread rather than me reading it. Go right ahead.
Right. Well, based on the statistics concerning remedial classes, I had to take remedial classes, my math classes. I had to take 086 and 092 class, which is essentially algebra. One thing about those subjects is if you don't use them, you lose them. I went back to school at 38 years old. And so primarily you have a lot of people that have been out of school. They have entered the workforce, for numerous reasons. And they decide to go back to school, for more earning power. And then you have to think about the immigrant issue. in this country, but especially in New Jersey, where you have a lot of Haitians and West Indians and, you know, people from Asia, certain parts of Asia. They come here and they cannot quite grasp the language. Their comprehension is really bad. And so without comprehension, you can't understand what you're reading, so you can't pass it. And it does not mean that they're not smart or anything like that, because you have plenty of students that excel once they pass their remedial classes. You know, and sometimes remedial classes are very well. It's not an issue about whether a teacher is failing teaching you or anything like that. It's just, like I said, it's these demographics and it's people's circumstances of when they're coming to school.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you may not have this issue if you, let's say you go to school in North Dakota, because there's not many immigrants there, you know, and with a liberal arts education, there's so many different things that people go to school for. People just trying to find themselves. They're searching. So they may have they may be strong in this subject, they may not be, but they're still searching.
Right. But you're talking more like on the collegiate and higher up level, and we're talking about like with the primary schools. We're talking about the younger children in schools, and in regards to them is because what basically the argument, what we started out arguing, is the fact that a judge made a ruling regarding how as far as this thing that they call LIFO. Last in, first out, meaning a very good teacher who is excellent, who's only been there for 2 years, for example, could be fired or laid off before a teacher who's been there for 20 years, who may not be as right. So and so that's what we're discussing, and my argument is first of all how we are evaluating the teachers, and teachers being in certain circumstances are already at a disadvantage, in my opinion, and then we're trying to also, now we're kind of moving towards what are the possible solutions to this, so that we can empower our teachers more, because I don't think our teachers are really empowered to make a lot of the decisions on these things. I think it becomes a reflection on them. If a teacher finds that Johnny's should not have been elevated to their level of class, they should have been kept back. And and then we do have, just as example with yourselves, we have some students who are strong in math and poor in reading. So what do we do with that? Or say the other way around. The child might be reading on an advanced level, but their math is in the basement, or say their math might be in an advanced level, but their reading and writing is in the basement. Like, how do we, what do we do with those students?
Well, it really takes a village to raise children.
That's right.
The responsibility is not solely on the teaching professionals.
I agree.
It is, your family has to be involved. When I was a kid, PTA was huge. Like, that was a major event. Like, every parent came. I went to Lincoln Avenue in Orange.
Okay.
And I remember there was barely anywhere to sit. Now you go to a PTA and it's vacant. Parents are just not involved. We have, this two-parent working system now that is going on. Women's rights and women's liberation movement is enabling women.
Well, I'm not sure if the women's liberation movement is.
Thanks for the call, caller.
Thanks for the call. I don't think the women's liberation movement is a negative thing. I
don't know that he meant it to be a negative, but
definitely now having more families two parents having to work more hours to sustain the same household that maybe years ago only one parent needed to work a regular 9 to 5 versus nowadays two parents working a 9 to 5 and maybe a 9 to 10.
We're going to take this last call. Then we'll move on to the next thing.
Yeah,
hello, caller?
Yes, caller.
Yes, hi, good morning.
Good morning. Who's this?
I want to speak to Ian. I agree with him this morning, not you, Eric.
Oh, wow. Personal. It's getting personal. I want to speak to. Well, I'm just going to turn my mic off, and go get me another cup of
who
coffee.
is this?
You gotta speak to Ian.
Who is my new friend that's on the radio right now? Who is this?
Ooh.
My name is Brenda Brown. I'm on the thread.
What's happening, lady? How you doing? My friend in the building. What's wrong with you?
So tell me why you agree with Ian.
Okay, I'm going to tell you, Eric. A lot of the teachers today, especially in Newark public schools, they are inundated with paperwork.
I don't disagree with that.
It's ridiculous.
I agree with you.
It's ridiculous, and it's hard to get a gauge on where a particular student is at when you have so many students in one classroom. And a lot of the students, and many times they have different social and emotional and behavioral problems.
I agree with that too.
That's very true. You hit it right on head.
The teacher has to deal with.
I'm not disagreeing with you. All I'm asking you is this: based on the decision the judge made, what he's saying is that 100% of the teachers are good teachers, so we don't have to. No. Listen. He's saying that 100% of the teachers must be good teachers, therefore we don't need to evaluate them based on performance. We need to simply fire people based on time served.
Where did the judge say that?
Well, okay, because I don't want to ask you the flip side. So is the judge saying, listen, in my ruling, I may be putting some bad teachers back in the classroom, but that being said, I still want you to lay them off based on last in, first out.
Well, and again, it's my theory.
Do you understand what I'm saying, caller? Because if the judge is saying I don't want performance evaluation to factor in to the removal of teachers, then what the judge is then saying is I'm either one admitting that in this ruling we're going to leave some poor performing teachers in the classroom, or two, he's saying I believe that my ruling will leave the best teachers in the classroom. Which one is he saying?
Well, this is my point to that. The reason why I believe the reason why he ruled in that way is because it's very hard to determine where the fault may lie, and because of so many social factors and other factors that are going on.
So he's erring on the side of the teacher. That's what I'm saying to you. I mean, it's a real simple question I'm asking. So you're saying he's erring on the side of the teacher at the expense of the student.
Okay, for example.
I'm asking a question, though. Is he erring on the side of the teacher at the expense of the student?
No, he's not.
Well, then
because I think he
does
sees
he
the
know?
bigger picture. I mean, look at for example, we have been engaged in this conversation for.
So what if? Let me put it another way. Okay. What if in my school, right? And I want to ask you this, caller too. In my school, as an administrator, I got to lay off 10 teachers. And as an administrator, I know that I don't know any Mrs. Johnson who's a teacher, so I'm just using it as a name, right? But Mrs. Johnson, Mrs. Frederick, and Mr. Jones are all bad teachers. Right? And I know, but they've been there for 20 years.
How do you determine that?
But we can get to how I determine it. But let's say I've determined, based on being a principal in that school for 25 years, that the best teachers I have are these teachers that have been here for the last 3 years. But according to this law, I got to lay off those teachers that I believe are the best teachers, because I can't evaluate them based on performance. I solely have to look and say, I'm going to keep these people because they've been here 20 years. You're saying to me that is fair to the kid?
Well, the other issue is how, just like we were talking about...
But you never answered my question. That's fair to the kid? And I'm asking you to call it too. You say you don't agree with me. You're saying that that's fair to the kid. If your child was in my school, and I'm the principal, and I've been a principal for 25 years.
Well,
I'm saying to you,
based off of what you're saying, no, it's not fair.
And I'm saying to you, know what? I got to lay off some teachers, and then you come to me and you say, Mr. Dawson, Mrs. Johnson is a really good teacher. Yeah, I know, but she's only been here 3 years, so I got to let her go, because that one over there been here for 20 years.
Well,
thanks for the call.
Thanks for the call.
Take the next.
Okay.
Hello,
hey, good
caller.
morning, caller. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, what's happening, Eric? I was just listening to you guys again. This is Spark.
Yeah, we got to make it quick, because go ahead.
We about to change topics.
You realize that in certain schools, certain teachers are given the problem children because they know they can handle them better. Henceforth, their performance will look forward because they have.
I don't disagree. I don't. But see, what you're failing to understand, Farrakhan, and I think the other cause are failing to understand is I don't disagree that there are issues there. I'm saying if you, however, evaluated it all, then you could determine some of what you're telling me. But when the judge says, I don't even want to listen to that.
So who
that's my only point. So all of what you're telling me may very well be true, Farrakhan. But the judge is saying that's a non-starter. Because as long as the teacher's been there 20 years, that's all I care about. So I agree that we should be having the discussion that you're having about teachers getting problem children, or that it takes a village to raise the children, or there may be a teacher who missed an issue with a child who came through there. All of that. But the judge's decision said none of that should be a factor. None of it.
Well, how are you?
We shouldn't even be talking about it. All we should be looking at is, was that teacher there for 20 years? If so, and that teacher was there for 3 years, then that's the only thing we should be talking about. And I'm saying the conversation we're having right now is the conversation we should be having. And the judge said, no, we shouldn't.
And I think the reason why.
Thanks for the call.
And thanks for the call. And I think as we close out with that topic,
close this out, man, because I'm furious now.
I think the reason why we, the judge made the decision, because who are you going to put in control of the decision making, and how can we determine if the decision making is being done fairly? How do we know, like, say, said administrator, say if it's a principal who gets to decide that, or regarding his teachers, if he has a certain favorite group of teachers or not so favorite one, how are we going to assess that? Now, unless we come up with a fair and equal system of evaluation to show that. And the other point that Farrakhan brought out as well is that the administrators who should know their teachers' strengths and weaknesses know that certain teachers and their certain personalities, some may be stronger than the other, or some based off of their upbringing and things of that nature, are better suited to deal with and handle the quote-unquote more problem children. Therefore, the more problem children are not going to necessarily always perform as well as the ones who may not, or those who may be less of a problem.
All right, I'm going to ask you all to go back and listen to my argument in this case. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Right.
Right. All what you're saying makes sense.
So the reason why the judge couldn't just make a decision right now, because there's so many things that we're discussing. We are outlining so many layers of problems that he can't just say based off of performance, because how are we going to base this performance? In what manner? It is so complex. How do we just say we're going to just base it off of performance?
Because there is, so
it's very complex.
So wait. So now, and I'm going to say this. So the judge, because there are some performance tools that are currently in place right now.
Right, there's some tools in place.
And the judge made a decision that those tools are not tools that he would want to consider. Right? And what I'm saying to you is these are the same tools that the union doesn't want to consider. And so I'm going to bring it full circle in my argument in saying that I believe that the judge sided against the kids and sided with the union in this decision. Now, on
to the next one. We might have to leave that topic there, because that's a hot topic. We might have to talk about it again.
Mm-hmm.
But, all right. Changing direction, folks. Terry Crews. We all know him as Muscle Bound Guy on these different shows, and he's a comedic actor. I forgot the name of the show that he's currently on, but
he's the dude who makes his pecs jump up.
Yeah, he makes his pecs jump up and down. Yeah, he made a.
He was in White Chick.
He was in White Chick.
Right.
He made a tweet. He made a tweet.
Love that movie.
That was a funny-ish movie. He made a tweet that said, "Why is it considered perfectly fine to be transgender but socially unacceptable to be transracial. I posted this on my page, and it got a little hot. People were like, well, what is transracial? And I was just like, well,
So I want to be clear about something.
Well, let's get and define them first. Like, say, what do you? I mean, we know a very famous person, who kind of coined that transracial term. Rachel Dolezal, if I'm pronouncing her name right.
Dolezal.
Dolezal. She was the president of the NAACP.
Yeah, she was the president of the NAACP. And she did a lot of good work while she was the president.
She did a lot of good work. Yep. And, she identified herself as being black or African American. And people took offense to that. I can tell you this.
First question I want to ask you.
Okay, what's the first question?
So let's deal with this. And callers, call in, please.
973-457-8000.
How do you define race? Do you define it? Do you attach a biological meaning to it? Or do you attach a social construct concept to it?
That's very interesting.
Understand what I'm saying now?
That's very interesting.
Do you attach... See, because before we talk, I need to understand, I need to make sure we're on the same page, or at least what page you're on, right?
Right.
So, do you attach a is it biological to you, race, or is it a socially constructed concept? Now,
and it also depends on how a particular individual also defines race. Some people, define the human race as the race, and we have different cultures within that, and some people define
right. And so that would be the social. So the socially constructed construct is that within the one race, which is the human race, because biologically we're all the same, right? But then we created this social construct concept that said you're black, I'm white, you're this, you're that, and now we have a cultural attachment to it, right? So you could essentially have white folks, but depending upon where they live. So take white folks who live down south.
Okay.
Right? White folk who live down south are culturally different than white folk who live up north.
That's true.
Right?
Right.
So
somebody's chilling with their cousin and say maybe in a possible inappropriate way, and somebody isn't.
Wow, I'm not talking deep down south.
Okay, I'm just saying.
I'm not talking deep down south.
Okay.
But what I am saying is that it is like I don't want to get into the stereotypes, but there is a social, depending upon where you grew up, how you grew up. There's a socialization of a person, right? And then that culture is absorbed by that person, and that person becomes a product of whatever that culture is. And what I believe is that Rachel Dolezal, given how she grew up, given what she identified with, she said, I identify with the black culture. I identify with the black experience. She had
Casimir, call in. I see you on there.
She has siblings, right? Mm-hmm. Adopted siblings who are black, and she looked and said, "This is what I identify with." And I don't know that it was something that occurred at that moment, or maybe it was a feeling that she had all along. Listen, we have become more than tolerant, right? But I want you all to remember, not too long ago, folks who were gay couldn't say they were gay, otherwise they would get a beat down, right? Mm-hmm. They were socially scorned and ostracized, right? Because we didn't understand what they were going through. And then they would say to us, it's not a choice. And then some people are still fighting with that concept, that it's a choice. You choose to be gay. Or I could pray the gay out of you, right? Or I can give you therapy to get it out of you.
I'm delivered.
And then what they're saying is, no, you don't understand. From my innermost being, this is who I am. And I'm just expressing it to you. But I'm always this. Some of them have had to hide it. Some, unfortunately, are still hiding it because of lack of acceptance in their family or in their community. I don't see a difference with somebody who says, from my innermost being, this is who it is that I identify with.
All right,
Why are we so eager to kick them out and to do what we did to so many gays and lesbians and transsexuals, transvestites?
Okay, now this is my question. You know, maybe
Listen,
she
is my Nubian queen. Man.
I might upset
Rachel
a few,
Dawson.
I might upset a few people, but
you agree with me? Is that how you got?
But when a person is there a mental, did something happen to an individual?
Don't do that. Don't go there.
I mean,
go there.
It's been pointed out that the possibility of some of these decisions are based off of, you know, like in some cases within the gay communities, you know, I've heard a few people, to include Dr. Umar, mention the fact that it could have a lot to do with what has happened to them, and you know, at a younger age, whether they were.
The phone's gonna light up in a minute.
Whether they
You're going down this road.
Somebody got to go down a rabbit hole sometimes to find out, you know, to find their way out, right? Sometimes we got to go down, but you know that, you know, based off of maybe being maybe incest or something.
So they were traumatized into being gay.
Traumatized.
Is that what you?
And no, that's been an argument made by several psychologists and psychiatrists, to include, you know, Dr. Umar most recently, speaking on that subject, and some may agree that they have valid points to that. Just in the same token, you know, how is it that you're not identifying with who you are as you are? You know, like the question is, how do you as a man, like we're talking about, I mean, we actually put Bruce Jenner on the cover of several magazines.
Right.
And he was actually heralded as Woman of the Year. I found, and I'm a man.
No. Bruce Jenner was not heralded as Woman of the Year. Caitlyn Jenner was heralded.
Okay.
See?
Bruce Jenner was heralded as Woman of the Year. And
Munira, please call in.
And for me, I found that, as I'm a man, I found that insulting to women. I found it insulting to women to say that this man who decided to transform himself into a woman physically is now considered Woman of the Year. And I mean, and I say I found it insulting. I found it insulting because, really, out of all the women that are out here doing so many great and wonderful things, because he decided to no longer embrace his physical appearance, he is...
No. See, this is where I'm saying you have it twisted.
Okay. Where do I twist it?
Ready?
Yes.
So you're saying that he decided that he wanted to embrace his woman, whatever. I'm saying...
He had to make the decision to become she.
See, but this is what I'm saying I believe occurred.
Okay.
That she was always inside of... Push that, because we got to just push it, and we're going to ask you to hold on, caller. But she, Caitlyn, was always in there, but did not have the courage to come out. That then you had this Olympian who was heralded by the entire world.
He went from the Wheaties box to...
But let me finish this. It's important for me to finish this without humor.
Okay.
So she was inside that guy that we saw, but she was always in there struggling, trying to find the courage to come out. If you embrace what it is that I'm saying, and at the moment that she developed enough courage to come out before everybody and say, I've always been in here, I'm no longer hiding anymore, then I'm saying that makes you Woman of the Year. Call.
Go ahead, caller. Please chime in.
Hello, call.
This is Manera. You asked me to call in.
Yeah. So weigh in on this, Munir. What do you think about the fact that you can pray to gay out of somebody, or that they suffered some traumatic experience in their life that led them to become gay, and maybe through therapy you can remove the gayness from them?
No. That's not just.
Well, when I came out, my mother thought therapy would help
helped me, and thought that I had some kind of psychological problem when I came out when I was 10 years old. And the doctor told her that, the psychiatrist said, well, she's just an out lesbian. That's her lifestyle. So I don't think therapeutic stuff helps anything either. And also, this thing about praying the gay out of people. I mean, first of all, nobody got a heaven or a hell to put nobody in. We all fall short. We can't cast no stones at nobody. So we got preachers gay. We got people in the pulpit that's not out gay individuals, but they are gay. So I guess it's different people's philosophy.
Well, I gotta.
How they want to, talk about gay people.
Okay, now I gotta. Now, have you heard Dr. Umar Johnson in particular? I'll just.
Well, have you heard about some of the shit he was into?
Oh, watch your language.
All right,
yeah.
Well,
this isn't real. This ain't real talk radio.
Yeah. What I don't want to do. Hold on a second, sis. Listen to my question. Listen to my question.
Dr. Umar Johnson ain't no, he can speak for, I guess maybe himself, but you can't really speak for other people. You gotta let other people who are.
No, what I'm trying to say, Dr. Umar Johnson, who is a clinical psychologist. All right, he's a doctor. Hold on.
Let him finish.
What he's saying is that he, based off of all of the evaluations that he has, all of the patients that he has had, all of his patients, all of the patients that he has had who have been, hold on, this is what he's saying. And as a doctor, he says all of the patients that I had, that I diagnosed and that I spoken to, 9 out of the 10 of them, 9 out of the 10 of them resulted. They said they had in their life a traumatic experience, whether it was incest or something of that nature in their early years. That that possibly attributed to their current condition.
Okay, so wait a minute. I'm gonna just wait a minute. I'm gonna.
Hold up. Do you know that probably about 80% statistics show that 80% of women overall have been sexually molested by someone in their family or somebody in the street or a friend. So 80% is probably 90.
Right.
But statistics shows that women overall, white, black, Asian, Jew, Gentile, whatever color they want to be, religion they want to be, 80 to 90% have suffered from sexual abuse in their family. You're not going to tell me all of women are gay.
No, not going to say that. I'm going to give somebody.
Thank you for the call.
Thanks for calling. To give somebody else. Because.
So I want to do this, right?
Okay, let's do this.
So my oldest daughter came out before she went off to college.
Okay.
Right, and it was a moving experience for me because I've always been very, very close to her.
Right.
And I felt that she could tell me anything. And I felt she knew she could tell me anything. And just before about a week before she was due to get on a plane to go to California, she sat on a chair with me and she said, "Daddy, I want to tell you something." And she buried her head in my chest and began to sob incessantly.
Mm-hmm.
And then she told me that she was gay. And I looked at her and I was like, even though I knew the moment was about her, I was emotionally put back because I felt that I had created a relationship with her where she could have told me, but I felt in that moment that she felt afraid or not completely comfortable or something like that. But what I will tell you is that she would have to call in and talk about something that I don't know about still at this time in her life, that she was ever assaulted or abused or molested or any of those things.
Right.
Right. And that you can, and you know what's interesting?
But it's not also just that. It's a lot of the times it's the early sexual experience. It's not always been a direct. What a lot of people have been theorizing is that it's either the person who was directly molested or something to that effect as a child, or the person indirectly, whereas your first experience was with a person who was affected. In other words, was her first sexual experience?
She didn't have a sexual experience before she did.
Okay, that's cool.
Right.
But
now, secondly, I have a cousin, right?
Okay.
Who is a male now, so he had a complete sex change, right? And I wish, I mean, we would have to do a whole show, but I'm sure I can get him to call in and talk about it, right? And I'm sure that if he sat with Dr. Umar, then it would be 2 out of 11 people that Dr. Umar spoke to who would say, and then I could bring some more people, and then those numbers would shift. Listen, when I listen to psychologists, Ian, if you go to Barnes & Noble, you can go down one whole row,
right,
where psychologists, all these psychologists believe this thing. And then you go down the other side of that same aisle, and all of those psychologists have put together white papers that dispute all of the things that the psychologists on this side agreed with.
Right.
So it's like a doctor. You go get a second opinion, a third opinion.
Right.
You listen, you do your own research.
And there's also been,
and they're all bringing their own bias to it.
Right. There's also been discussion regarding, chemicals in foods, things of that nature. That's been, shown to be.
Wait. So, got another one. I don't know. Jacqueline says that. Well, I understand, Jacqueline, that gay is different than being transgender.
Exactly. So we did.
So we're not arguing that point.
We did definitely kind of.
But we're not arguing that point, right? But what I am saying is that in being transgender is one where you have a preference, right? So somebody decides that I don't want to be, I am attracted to, this, the same sex. And you have a transgender who says, I am this sex trapped in this body, right?
Right.
And I'm working to get out. So they are two different things. But the question is, I think in both cases with a person like Dr. Umar and others who believe that either way, it is an emotional disturbance within a person's brain that has led them to that, as opposed to being something more
because
genetic.
I've always wanted to know what, because it's based off of so many different belief systems,
or
right?
biological, not genetic.
Belief systems, whether a religious or other. I'm trying to understand where. I'm trying to. Well, I can't say anything.
Osman says after Umar's video, he is discredited somewhat. I don't know if you guys saw that video, but he did this rant, and I thought Dr. Umar was, and I had him on the show. We didn't talk about that, but I had him on the show.
A lot of people fail to realize, and I'm going to say this, Osman. You can't. And you and I spoke about. A person could have one bad game, and you can't determine the entire career.
Well, he said somewhat discredited. He didn't say completely discredited.
But nonetheless, I mean, he has some merit to his argument. But we did lose topic, and my fault on that is that we're talking about why is transgender? When somebody is when you can see.
Well, I don't think we lost topic.
When you can see what a person is, and they can see what they are. And by comparison, and you saying, I want to transform myself and no longer identify as, and change to something else. And that's what also transracial does. They say, I no longer identify with what I see, and I want to identify with how I feel. That's what they're both doing. They're both saying, I don't want to identify.
No, I don't think they're saying I want to identify with what I feel. I think they're saying I want you now to see me for what I've always been.
No, I want you to see me on how I feel.
No,
not
on
how
what
I
I've
am.
been. On what I've been. And I've had to hide who it is that I am because society is not ready to deal with me yet. So I've had to suffer through this.
So you're saying Rachel...
I'm saying that Rachel, that picture that they show of her with her pasty skin and all those things, I'm saying that somewhere inside of her, somewhere inside of that person, she was never what you saw or what you see in that picture. And whether it took courage or whatever it took for her to come out and say, I am not that. I may look like that, and you guys identify that with being this culture, but I'm not that. Why I was made like that, I don't know, but that's not who I am. And so the courage that it took for her to come out and say, this is who I am.
Right. Well,
and then we say, no, because that's not what I see, which is what you just said. But that's not what I see, so you can't be who you are. And she's going, no, that's not true. What you see is not who I am. Does it make up the essence of who it is that I am? Now, why
I can probably
the disparity?
Embrace,
I don't know, but I am this person.
I can embrace more the transracial argument than I can.
Oh, wait a minute. Do you feel heterosexual, or do you know you are? Do you feel heterosexual? Very interesting question. So, to answer your question, I am. I just am. So that's the interesting thing, right?
So now, so that's you just are.
I just am, so, and but here's the difference, right?
So at what point did Bruce?
I think that
at what point did Bruce, who had several children,
right,
been married, all this?
You're missing
at
the
what
point.
Point did Bruce?
Right. He always felt it.
Bruce was a person who won the Olympics.
No, he showed society what society was willing to accept. That's what he did. He showed society what society was willing to accept. Can you imagine? Because back then, they were still beating up gay people. Can you imagine back then if Bruce Jenner, and then if you listened, have you listened to the interview? Bruce Jenner said...
But being gay is not necessarily the only thing we're talking about.
No.
We're talking about also...
I'm saying if Bruce Jenner had gone back in the locker room when he came out to complete the triathlon and had come out with a wig and some pumps, what do you think would have happened?
No, all right.
I'm asking you that question.
No, but
and I'm not being.
This has always been my issue with some, quote unquote, some. I want you to hear that word, folks. Some people who happen to be gay. My issue is if you really secure in who you are as a male or female, and the fact that you like a male or female, as you know, you like the same sex. If you really secure, why do you need to assimilate to the opposite sex? Some I'm going to say some fall under this category. We can't deny the fact that some fall under the category that they need to assimilate by a way of mannerism and or appearance. Why do you need to assimilate of the opposite sex in order to be with the same sex if you're really secure with who you are? I can more appreciate say the stereotypical male football, persona and attitude, very, quote unquote manly type of attitude and behavior, saying I'm gay and being with another man who's also of that manly behavior, and then they're both secure in their manhood and the fact that they choose to be gay, versus those men and or women who choose to take on mannerisms of the opposite sex. I don't think that they are as secure in their lifestyle as those who don't. A woman who continues the behaviors and mannerisms of a woman who chooses to be with a woman, in my opinion, is more secure than a woman. Is more secure of her gayness, and or a man who
gayness.
Is well. You know what? I don't know the proper way. I'm just trying to explain it. In my opinion, I think a woman who is more feminine and who chooses to be with another woman, and a man who is more masculine who chooses to be with another man, I think those persons are more secure in their lifestyle, truly more secure in who they are, than those who feel the need and or do change their mannerisms in order to be with that person of the same sex. Because why, if you really are that secure, young man, why do you need to raise your voice, change the tone of your voice, and or have mannerisms more closely associated to a woman in order to be with a man? And why do you as a man need to date a man that has those feminine qualities if you're really secure with the fact of, like, that's a question, for me. And same thing with women. Why do you as a woman who is very feminine feel that you need to date another woman who has masculine qualities? I mean, I've seen some tough ones out there, and it pulls off that persona. If you're really secure, and why are you, the woman who's taking on those masculine qualities, need to date a woman with the feminine? Like, I've never seen, and they probably exist, I haven't seen a woman with the quote unquote masculine type qualities with another woman with masculine type qualities, more so than I've seen the opposites attract relationships. I've seen the man and the woman relationships, regardless if it was actual man or a woman.
So let me say this again. And again, I'm going to use my own experience. Okay. And I think my daughter would forgive me for saying this. I don't think that there would be an issue with it.
Please forgive your dad, because it's my fault.
No. But she is who she is, and she's very comfortable with who she is. But my oldest daughter, I remember we used to go shopping, and I have pictures of when I used to do her hair. I used to have a cosmetology license.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, man. And so I used to do her hair when she was little, and I would put it in curls and had the little barrettes and all those things, and the flowery dresses with the shoes and stuff, right? And that's because she was 2 and 3 and 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
When she became 5 or 6 years old, we would go shopping. She literally, at 5 and 6 years old, would go over into the boys section, and she would say that she wanted cargo shorts.
Okay.
So I didn't think anything of it. What are cargo shorts?
Why not?
Right? Why not? When she was younger, right, and at Christmas time, when she really didn't know how to put together a list, I would buy her, the kitchen sets and all of those stereotypical toys that you buy for girls.
Right.
When she got older and could write out her little Christmas list at around 7 years old or so, she wanted a G.I. Joe. She wanted a big construction truck.
Right.
She wanted those things. And then my other daughter wanted my youngest daughter, my next oldest daughter, wanted the Barbie set and want all those things.
Right.
And my ex-wife and I would sit and watch them play, and I'm telling you, they were that young. The looking back now, and when we would talk and look at it, my daughter, my oldest daughter, did not gravitate toward those things that you would stereotypically give to a girl.
Right.
And if you look at the way that she dresses now, she doesn't wear dresses. She, in fact, she went to one event where she was supposed to wear, I guess you would say, supposed to wear a gown, and she chose to wear a tuxedo. Okay. So this wasn't behavior that when she was 4 and 5 and 6 years old, that she had made a conscious decision that she was going to dress in this manner because it represented something. She didn't know at 4, 5, and 6 why she wanted to wear the cargo jeans, why she didn't want to wear the dresses, why she no longer wanted barrettes in her hair.
Right.
Right? It was just who she was. And I think that when she became 18 and sat on that chair with me and buried her face in my chest, she did something similar to what Caitlin did. She rose up with a great deal of courage and said, I am going to now show the world who I have always been. Not who you've seen, but who I have always been. And I think that that's exactly what Rachel Dolezal did when she did what she did. So that girl with the pasty white skin and the flat hair that they say, oh, she's a white girl. To you, she was a white girl. Maybe even to her mother, she was a white girl. Because that's what she saw. That's what society tells us to see. But inside of her, that's not who she is.
Unfortunately, time is running out. But, and I'd like to probably continue this on another day. And ask,
well, we're going to play this all the way out to the
especially the members of our lesbian and gay community and transgender community. I'm curious to know how many of you embrace, or well, obviously many of you are probably more accepting of the transgender lifestyle. But why? How many of you have a problem with the transracial aspect? I'm curious to hear from members of our community. And please excuse me, I'm trying to, we're having.
And Jalen says I'm all over the place, but Jalen, listen to the episode and you'll see that it's all tied in.
Yeah, we're all over the place, but you know what?
But I don't think that we are.
At least we're not afraid to have the discussion.
But I don't think that we are, because I think that it's all tied in.
Splash Radio, 94.3.
Brand new. I'm caught up with so fast.
Dance hall, soca, hip hop and R&B, African.